Today we're going to take a look at whether or not you need to retune after an exhaust swap, so stick around. Hey everybody, welcome back to the garage, or the office above the garage basically. And it's getting colder outside, so it's a good time to start looking at some tunes, things like that, data logs, give you guys some insight as to what to look for whenever you're doing this process. Now remember, you can always go over to tuning101.com. That takes you directly to our YouTube homepage. You can view all the playlists there, generation specific playlists, quick tuning tips, all that stuff. Also, if you find this information helpful, make sure hit the subscribe button, ring that bell, and please, please, please throw a like out there. That gets this information out to more people. The more people that see this stuff, the more people that are having this conversation and generating more good information for everybody. So it works out very well in the long run. So let's set this up. Here was the situation that prompted this. I had a customer who we were doing a custom tune on who had sent me a log while we were doing speed density. And we were kind of dialing it in, just the initial steps of trying to get this speed density table looking good across the board. And then suddenly the next log, he's very lean on wide open throttle. I'm like, hey man, something's going on. Is your boost controller on the fritz where you spiked a little bit of pressure? I'm not sure why you went so lean. And he actually answered back, said, yeah, my muffler blew the seam out. I was like, well, that makes sense. Suddenly the truck had a bunch more exhaust airflow because he had a baffled or chambered muffler on there that had a decent amount of restriction, and whenever it blew the seam open, now we have a lot more airflow on the exhaust side, and it really skewed things over. So one of the big things I want to look at here is we've got, as two different ways that we like to tune fueling, mass airflow and then volumetric efficiency, or on later generations, virtual volumetric efficiency. Now the mass airflow is going to be a lot more responsive to changes because we come in here, we have this curve and it is in pounds per hour. So based on the frequency that the math reads, it says this is how many pounds per hour of air is being drawn into the motor, and then it does the fuel calculation. So if you have 147 pounds of air, you're putting 1 pound of fuel. That's where you get 14.7 to 1. So whenever we make adjustments or modifications, intakes, cams, things like that, a lot of this mass airflow curve doesn't change a lot. There might be some things that we can fix in here that are just anomalies from the factory, but where we see the change is up top, where we might have maxed out at this point. Now with the additional airflow, we're maxing out at this point, and so we need to make sure and tune these areas in between, and it might actually change kind of the shape of our curve. As we come in here and make those changes though, we can do some predictive decision making and say, hey, whenever we're getting to this point, this is where wide open throttle, this is the max amount of air that we're flowing. We can look beyond that and say, okay, well, let's go ahead and scale the rest of this up to make sure if we do for some reason have denser air, things like that, we will automatically be in the right direction. So I like to just bring it up 1% at a time until it kind of falls in line like that. Now we have additional fueling up top. If we somehow manage to exceed our old readings, we're covered. We probably still need to tune that in, but we're not just going to go crazy lean. So that's what we call, kind of scaling or smoothing out the mass airflow curve. Volumetric efficiency, way different. Now here's the thing. Whenever we're looking at a volumetric efficiency table, we are looking at the engine's ability to move air, and it is going to be based off of our engine speed and manifold pressure. And so if we were to come down here around idle, and we have a decent idle on this thing, we're seeing 59, 62% efficiency, and that is saying the total displacement of the motor, we are moving 59% of that. So, if you have a 6-liter motor in here and you're at 59% volumetric efficiency, you're moving 59% of 6 liters of air. What happens though is as we add airflow modifications, intakes, heads, exhaust, cams, things like that, the engine becomes more efficient. We may still be in the same area where we're at 2875 kPa, we're still hitting the same cells, but instead of moving 86% of the efficiency or 86% of the displacement of the motor, now we're moving 94%. And so that's why we have to come in and tune this for almost every mod that we do that increases airflow. The volumetric efficiency or speed density tables need to be updated. Let's take a look at these two logs and you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. This is day one, day two, back-to-back kind of situations of changes. And if we look at the initial log, we're just getting in here and we're focused down here kind of in this area mainly. We've got some values out here that's not really concerning, even though they show very lean. We've just not addressed those areas. We're focused on this wide open throttle. In particular, we're trying to get kind of this zone into the green, specifically on 4,000 where it's in the red. So we go out there, and for the most part, there wouldn't be a lot of changes out here. I'm not worried about 6.5% initially on this. 10% is a little bit too rich, but for the most part, if we're in the green, that's where we like to be. And then if we kind of get the whole entire table towards the green, we can make adjustments to bring the entire volumetric efficiency table down. So if we were to have a table that's in the green, and we're running 6 to 8% rich across the board, we could come in here and maybe take out 4% across the board and shift the whole table. Works a lot better for virtual volumetric efficiency where the zone calculations are concerned. So what happened? Well, as I said, wide open throttle, we're running nice and rich. He blows a hole in the muffler, boom. Super lean at wide open throttle. In fact, this is on a 2 or 3 bar setup, and so we're seeing kind of a compressed resolution right here because we're using the default EQ error. But that alone, just blowing the seam open on the muffler, created this situation where beforehand we were 5 to 10% rich. Look, 4,000 at 105, 10%. 4,000 at 105, 22% lean. And so there was almost a 30% shift in volumetric efficiency. Now, granted, there might have been some tuning on there to actually bring that down. So it may have been closer to a 20% shift. But if you look across the board, it's almost considered, or could be considered, a 10% lean shift just from blowing the seam open on the muffler. Now, just imagine what it'd be like if you actually went in, did high flow cats or a cat delete, and you're running a straight through muffler instead of a chambered muffler. Now, all over this place, you're lean. So keep that in mind. Your mass airflow is probably going to mask a lot of it. If you were to go in and pull logs whenever you go into high speed, which is where the mass airflow sensor takes over, all of your error ratios are going to look pretty decent. You're not going to be that lean. But in the background, where it's referencing things like volumetric efficiency, you're lean, and you have the potential to have some correlations and drivability issues. So keep that in mind. Okay, just a quick video kind of doing a tune log overview to share some more information out there. Hit up the comments, let me know if you guys want to see more stuff like this. I've got a lot of logs out there that we could go over and look at different situations, but this one stood out as a very interesting one, and one that a lot of guys probably have questions on. Do I actually need to do a tune with this exhaust? Yeah, you probably do. To be safe, I would say that it's specifically if you're going from something like a stock exhaust to an aftermarket with high flow or no cats, you're really changing the way that inhibits the engine to where now it is just could be possibly moving 15 to 20% more air, and that is going to correlate directly to the volumetric efficiency table. So listen, you guys know the drill. Thanks for stopping by the garage. Remember, ABT, always be tuning.